Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.
While you're in sunny Florida, be sure to visit
WARlando! Enter into a world of epic adventure.
This is our Session 0, playing the Dungeons & Dragons adventure, Out of the Abyss.
So we are right at the end of 26 episodes of recording, and today what we're going to do is sort of reintroduce the characters properly, one at a time, and then we're going to sort of recreate the first and second episodes, which we did not record. We picked up the recording on the third episode, so hopefully anybody who wants to listen to this in the future can catch the whole story sort of in order and kind of properly stitched together. But before we go around and introduce the characters, I just wanted to spend a minute talking about the setting. Out of the Abyss is a published adventure from Wizards of the Coast, which was released in the summer of 2015. And it is heavily focused in and around the realm known as the Underdark, which is a massive cavern beneath the Forgotten Realms, basically a dark reflection of the surface world. The authors of the adventure cite various inspirations for it, which hopefully you can pick up as you re-listen to this. Things like Alice in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass. There's definitely heavy borrows from plot elements of all the Drizzt novels by R.A. Salvatore, especially the novel Exile. And then, of course, tons of references to ancient demons and demon lords, which have been around since really the beginning of D&D as that canon sort of got developed over the years. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and have Clocks, Creekbag, our own Nicholas, go ahead and be the first person to introduce this character that he's going to play for us.
The Creekbag is my real name. Nicholas is my no. I'm Clocks Creekbag, and I am a neutral evil goblin, and I come from some city, town city outside of where we all met. Where did we meet? What was it again?
I think we all
Waterdeep?
met in a dungeon.
Oh yeah, but it was kind of like outside Waterdeep. I mean, like originally. I
think it was Cell 42 we all met.
Oh yeah. Well, the big city we went to, was Waterdeep. So it's like, it's like a couple days travel from Waterdeep. And Clocks grew up, in a goblin family in a town that was pretty diverse, had a lot of different, creatures and beings. And there was a moment in town where there was this being who came, and he basically disrupted the town's order, and he conjured some spell, some machine of sorts, some calamity that basically just dismantled any sort of order inside the city, and everybody ran rampant. And this sort of chaos that was committed, Clocks just like beamed from ear to ear and realized like he had found his calling. He wanted to become so powerful and with the ability to take down any sort of order good that he could, and not like everywhere, but he just liked that power of being able to do it and being able to succumb or to have a city's worth of people succumb to his will. And so he left and decided he wasn't going to find it there, and he needed to leave and go look for it on his own. And so he's an artificer, and he's not but 3 feet tall, I think, and a mature age of 10, and he found himself traveling along the road, sneaking into another town for food and provisions, and hiding underneath some like hiding in and out of some shadowy places to keep out of sight and to kind of keep his own shelter while he was, stealing food as he could. So that's where I think episode 1 starts. That's where he is. He's in this little tiny village within walking distance of Waterdeep. I came across in trying to come back up with like who is Clocks. I was reading back into the Slack channel to like what I had sent the DM to kind of about what I did. I clicked on my own channel to see what I sent myself, and at some point I sent myself a message that said, "Never get into fights with ugly people. They have nothing to lose." I think that's Clocks' mantra.
That's outstanding. And I wish I had remembered at the front of this to mention. I think it's become a feature basically at this point in the campaign is that this is an evil campaign. We all feel like and that was pretty well planned. Like from the beginning, we had just done a campaign, Curse of Strahd, before this that was by necessity. Most of the characters were pretty good. There was some moral ambiguity there, but nobody was outright evil now. Now we know how deep that well goes, and what better way to transition into the next character to introduce, and that would be Daak Vandergar, played by Adam.
Hello, everyone. This is Adam playing Daak. I originally loved the Avatar trilogy that takes place in the Forgotten Realms that came out in the 90s, and I was super fascinated with the god Bane, the Tyrant Lord. And I always loved the concept of an anti-paladin. And from the two was born Daak Vandergar, who is a paladin, an evil paladin of Bane, the Tyrant Lord. Daak's background, both of his parents were priests worshipping the god Bane. And they raised Daak to be a paladin who would go out into the world and spread the worship of Bane to all the corners of the Forgotten Realms. So the strategy they gave Daak was go find Skullport, the Underdark pirate city hidden near Waterdeep, and a city that's really, really hard to find unless you know someone who's already been there. And so Daak didn't have that information, so he was just sent from his parents to go out into the world and find Skullport and to spread the worship of Bane, but at the same time get honor in the name of Bane by becoming as powerful as he could become. So to gather whatever magic items he could find, whatever new powers and abilities he could find, whatever he could bring to make himself more powerful would make Bane more powerful as well. So that's Daak Vandergar going out into the world to spread the worship of Bane, the Tyrant Lord.
Yeah, that's so cool, and I do want to give you give proper context here. I think you've been talking about playing this character as long as we've been talking about Dungeons and Dragons.
Since I was like 8 years old and I read the word anti-paladin, I thought, oh yeah, that's what I want to be.
That's what I want to be when I grow up.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Such a cool concept. I love it. So the next character we're going to introduce is, I think, one of the most well-developed and thought out and tied to canon backstories that I've ever seen. George, do you want to spend a few minutes reintroducing us to Mourinho?
Mourinho is a wanderer. He's been a captain of the guard. He's been a fighter all his life. He's from Chondathan on the see his father and mother were. His father was a soldier, his mother was a trader, and they traveled all over the area. At an early age, they were killed by frost giants. They stayed out too long in the mountain passes, and I was raised by the soldiers of my father's command. Eventually, getting to the point where I was captain and leading a lot of skirmishes and leading a lot of trading. We came to know a Swerfnablin named Belwar, a master craftsman and a trader, and we found a secret cave right at the edge of the Underdark, where we would go and for years trade with him, and I learned a lot of magic and different things from him. I also learned that the Drow were backstabbing scum that can never be trusted. I don't have any Drow friends. One time we were ambushed, and they attacked us. My whole troop was wiped out. I was fighting two Drow that were left over. I know that Belwar was badly hurt, and I thought he was dead. He managed to hit them with lightning as he passed out, and the lightning hit me as well. So when I woke up, those two were dead. Belwar and all his people were gone, the Undergnomes. And ever since then, I've just been wandering far and wide. Never miss an opportunity to kill a Drow, and just making my living with my sword and shield, making sure that I get to know the few things I learned from Belwar. One of them saved my life when we were first tackled, because I could change my identity. Mm-hmm. And as I saw two Drow coming and I wasn't prepared, I changed into a Drow. Mm-hmm. And I stayed. I joined up with the company, and they were out collecting slaves, and we all ended up in the same slave pens. I was on one side of the fence, eating well, having a good time, and they were on the other side.
Yeah, that's definitely right at the front of episode 1 for sure. Because everybody else is like, "Oh, you're a slave, you're in jail, sorry," and Moorhelm's like, "Nope." gonna move that plot element to the side. Awesome. So we're gonna flip this over to Jamie to introduce the character she's created, Silky, which is a crazy combination of race and class and magical abilities like I've never seen before. I think it's super interesting. So Jamie, you want to kind of take us through what Silky is about?
Sure. My character's name, her wandering name is Silky. She hasn't seen fit to share her real name with her companions, even at this point in time. She is a wild hunt shifter, and her animal totem, her beast within, is based on a hooded seal. So the color scheme of her kind of light furring that she has over her body is sort of a, most people don't know what a hooded seal looks like, so I'm going to say the closest would be similar to a cow's kind of furring. But so it would be that sort of pattern. A little more dappled, but you get the picture. She spent her time kind of grifting through the surface, and had a little run-in on the beach with some, where she had made her camp with some Drow, which is how she ended up with the rest of the crew in the Underdark. She's an arcane trickster rogue, and I really, really like the rogue abilities. I'm a big fan. She's kind of keeps everything a little close to the chest, so she hasn't shared anything about her past with any of her companions, but she does enjoy being quite sarcastic with them. And
Right. And why would you at this point? Because, I mean, they're not exactly the most trustworthy lot.
Yeah, no one needs to know where she comes from. It's fine. She is she's not quite evil. She's a neutral character, but the bad influence is definitely rubbing off on her later in the campaign. So
yeah, for sure. All right, so that's terrific. I love seeing how Silky's developed over time here. I think it's the idea has been true from the beginning, but like seeing how the different like character abilities have like morphed personality to like inform each other, I think is super rewarding. I can't wait to see where it goes for the second half of the adventure. Yeah. And so that leaves Mark. And Mark, I just want to ask a basic question. Which came first, Zakram or the playlist?
Oh. Well, I think I might have to say the playlist, actually.
Yeah. So I was thinking it might be that, and we'll have to share it somehow. But every episode we get an updated playlist of whatever Zak is inspired by, and so we now have a 26-song playlist, which is meant to, I guess, be the score of this campaign.
It really is. So yes, so I'm Mark. I play Zakram, or just Zak for short, with his friends. But he is just another wasted youth in the lands of the Forgotten Realm. But the idea of Zak came about from, I guess, my youth itself. It was just, hey, hanging out in my room and listening to tunes with my headphones on and blocking out the world. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of Zak's mentality. He is just like I said, a wasted youth. He's a tiefling that stomps around the towns, traveling from town to town amongst the Forgotten Realms, and he's into the darker music scene that's going on presently. Mm-hmm. So that playlist has come about from little inspirations in the actual episodes. Mm-hmm. And something comes to mind, something triggers it, and I'm like, oh, I know what I need to put down on there. So, Yep.
Outstanding. So I guess just a quick recap. So we have Clocks, the Goblin Artificer. We have Daak, the Human Paladin / Warlock, right?
Yeah.
Mourinho, the Human Fighter, Eldritch Knight. Silky, the Arcane Trickster Rogue Shifter, and Zakram, the Warlock Bard. So
yes, correct.
Yeah, lots of multi-classing going on here, which I love. You guys are sort of just picking the classes as they make sense to the characters.
Yeah. I didn't mean to become anything, but after one drunken night at a show, now anything's possible.
For sure. And anything else y'all want to pick up or talk about or introduce to your characters that came to mind as everybody else was going?
No, just that we were all, one way or another, we were all ambushed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
I was already passed out. Does that count?
It was a lot easier ambush.
Yeah.
And I think that was right after I made a pact.
Right.
And then we lights out.
The Drows carefully snuck up on you and had really high rolls just to realize they wouldn't have mattered.
It didn't matter. Yeah.
Drag them. So that is kind of where I started everybody off. You know, this party did not know each other at all. At the beginning of this episode, everybody was kind of I asked folks to sort of randomly tell me a place they thought they would be or a direction they would be wandering towards, sort of in the region of Waterdeep, but not, anywhere necessarily close by or anything. And everybody kind of came back with various elements of their backstory that said what they were up to. And I guess that's a good pivot into the start of episode 1, right? I think, you guys feel free to jump in here with how you remember it, but basically I kind of just narrated everybody being nabbed by the Drow sort of one by one and what that looked like. Except for Mourinho, who passed a series of tricky checks and was able to disguise himself at the last minute as a Drow and become part of the guards, right?
Yep.
He's so dang sneaky.
I don't remember too many other details from that. But does anything stick out to anybody from episode 1, sort of about how you got trapped or the circumstances there?
I think I lost a couple of daggers throwing them at the Drow.
Right. Yeah, I think I remember maybe you spotted them, but they closed the distance before you could stop them, right?
Yeah, I think I made some really bad rolls and just missed entirely with the daggers.
Absolutely.
Terrible aim.
Yeah, I woke up in the cell still hungover, and I tell you what they served that day was pretty damn good.
Right, I do remember we almost ate stool.
That's true.
Yeah.
Not out of context.
It would have been food if he had the smoking up.
Stool is the
God,
name.
yeah, that was a really weird thing to say as a sentence.
Yeah, right off the bat.
The way I phrased that.
You left end eye off the end.
Where is this going? Wait a minute.
Bye, listeners.
What did I want to do?
So did we clarify that Stool is the name of an animate mushroom person?
A myconid, yeah, like
Yes.
a little.
Yeah.
Not awful.
But then, and this is going to come out wrong again. Then he sprayed us with his spores, and we could all talk to each other.
Right in the face.
Oh boy.
The comedy writes itself. Would it be? Do we want a quick recap of all the NPCs that you guys got trapped in there with?
Well, let's do.
Oh my God! All
let's have,
178 of them.
Why don't we start with maybe Mark does our episode 1 recap?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Would you like me to read the DM's recap that's in our channel?
Yes, and definitely make sure you read every link when they're in there, like spell out the codes that are.
Oh, absolutely.
www.//WARlando/
Might be able to.
All right. All set? Let's revisit, shall we? Episode 1. Will you walk into my parlor? In far-flung locations across the Forgotten Realms, the adventurers pursued their own goals. One by one, they were captured by Drow scouts. Mourinho, the sneaky little bastard, managed to disguise himself as one of the attackers and evade capture. Days later, the party found themselves deep in the Underdark, prisoners of the Drow. The outpost of Velkenveld offered nothing but hard labor, squalid conditions, and the promise of a life in slavery. And their gruel actually was pretty good. Desperate to escape, they soon found themselves in an uneasy alliance with a strange crew of Underdark beings, still disguised as a guard. But realizing he couldn't keep the charade up for long, Mourinho offered an opportunity. At the guard change, Clocks Creekbag tempted an unsuspecting Drow with a gem, and Silky used the distraction to club the guard. Free of the slave pen where they were kept, the party made a daring dash across the rope bridges, connecting the various hollowed-out stalactites used by the Drow captors for shelter. In the nearest guard post, they made short work of the occupants and secured a hoard of weapons and armor. Yeah. But when they attempted to move to the next stalactite, the Drow priestess, Asha Vandri, noticed their approach, calling for the guards to attack.
Yeah.
And the inspiration for that episode led into AC/DC's classic Jailbreak.
Awesome. That brings back some pretty good memories. I wanted to, and for the audience that might not know this, the people who play Clocks and Silky are married people in real life, and I was thinking how romantic that they got to role play a Jailbreak together.
It's like a real life Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah.
So any other memories or thoughts on episode 1, stuff that jumped into people's minds as Mark was kind of going through that? It's been 9 months since we recorded that, so it's probably a little bit in the haze here. But I was curious if anybody just had something that was like, oh yeah, you know.
Well, what a great way to start the campaign. We're all prisoners. We don't have any equipment. We don't have anything we would expect to start off with. We're just stuck with our wits and our willingness to escape.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
I like that.
We'd all just built our characters and our inventories, and then Matt was like, oh, by the way, they're gone.
Spent a lot of time on that stuff.
So that's what I remember. I remember an entire party sour because we just got started and we had nothing.
Yeah, absolutely nothing.
The options were, do you leave or do you go get your stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a tough call.
Yeah, well, that's a pretty good pivot into kind of what y'all did in episode 2, kind of during the aforementioned jailbreak. Do you guys want to have Mark read that one now?
Yeah.
All right. Let's see here. All right, so episode 2. Prepare to meet Loth in hell. Trapped by Ashi Vendry and 24 Drow guards, the party's daring escape looked hopeless. The chances of success dropped once a sortie led by Daak Vandegaard to recover their stolen gear led them to a confrontation with the cruel and terrifying Mistress Ilvara of House Mizram. Meanwhile, at Mornhelm and Silky made their descent to a dark pool 100 feet below the rope bridge. Clock's Creekbag and Zokram did battle with the giant spider when the sordid cast of fellow prisoners pitched in to earn their freedom. It was epic. Mm-hmm. In their darkest moment, a hellish buzzing sound ripped through the cavern as half a dozen demons seemed to appear from nowhere. Distracted by this new threat, the Drow captors lost interest in the prisoners. With the window for escape open again, the party rallied together and made a mad dash for the western exit of the camp. A final confrontation with a wounded Vrock demon nearly derailed the escape again. But with a final surge, the adventurers, and I lost my place, managed to slay the creatures. I was so just excited and slip away into the darkness. But even as they disappeared into the wilds of the Underdark, Ilvara's voice boomed from behind them. Run for your lives, slaves. The long arm of House Mizram will find you soon enough.
Yes.
Awesome.
Ooh, there she is. Even posted a picture.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Her tentacle whip.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely remember that episode in a lot more resolution than the first one, I think, because I just, as a DM, it was definitely like candy, right? Like you sort of realize, I think I even had a moment where I was like, this is as fun as it's going to get for me, because everything from here on out, they're going to figure stuff out and just get more powerful and beat all my monsters. But like right now, I've got 5 level 1s with no gear and like all the monsters I could ever want, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Demons and drow and guards.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were definitely under your thumb at that point.
I knew that it was true because that's what came back to me here was it reads like instant chaos. Like things got hard and crazy and impossible, and then everybody's just like, I'm going this way. And like Silky like jumped off a cliff into the water. Like Mornhelm tried to go after her. Zach's like, fuck it, let's fight, you know. That's kind of what I remember is just everybody split the party immediately, run for cover. Who knows what the hell's going to happen?
We definitely weren't a team at that point.
Mm-hmm.
No, definitely not. But we got a bunch of teammates.
Whether we wanted them or not.
I know that there was always somebody on my back. Who was that?
I
was going down the rope, and there was always somebody on my back.
Were you carrying the
No, a female, little lady dwarf.
Eldith.
Oh, yeah.
She was a good fighter.
Well, do we want to have...
Sorry to throw her to that dragon like that.
A little foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Do we want to have Mark read the list of NPCs?
Oh, good lord. where is that even? Do we have a memory space on our page?
They've got
for all
those
that?
easy names.
In Slack
see here.
under NPCs.
I'll share it to general.
Slack channel with it.
I put it in general now if you want to check it there.
Okay, gotcha.
I definitely still had my stat sheets for Prince Darendil and Stool,
Oh man,
just
maybe
in
we'll do it
case we
again.
ever run into them again.
Who knows? And Mark, I mean, you don't have to
Yeah.
read the whole deal there, but
Oh no, I'm reading it.
oh, okay.
Yes.
All right. And I'm gonna butcher it all because I can't pronounce these damn names. But that's what Zakram would do anyway, just to piss him off. All right, so here we go. Here's a list of the NPCs and locations in the Underdark they can help find. All right, so we have Bupado, the Darrow. He knows how to reach Gracklstug from the southern route out of Velkenveld or from the Dark Lake. Bupado urges the characters to go to Gracklstug to acquire better equipment and out of a desire to return to his people. All right, good old Bupado.
Good old
Worked out
Bupado.
so well with Bupado. Yeah.
Really did.
No
It really did.
foreshadowing. Don't give it away.
Yeah.
No, but Bupado is definitely an interesting character. And then there's Prince Darendil, a Quaigoth. Can't offer any useful directions, but he gladly accompanies the party, eager to go to the surface world. You remember Darendil, everyone?
Oh yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
He was one of my NPCs.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have Eldith Feldrun, the dwarf, is unfamiliar with this region of the Underdark and can't navigate. But she has a +5 bonus on wisdom survival checks and can help out in that regard. Yeah.
He's like our navigator.
Yeah, navigator
Shit.
and rations. Don't forget rations.
Rations.
Yes. And then we have Jim Jar, the gnome. He can guide the party to Blingenstone from the north route out of Velkenveld. Jim Jar is fine with visiting other interesting places along the way as long as taking Stool back to its home. I can't say Stool anymore now. without realizing it's kind of wrong. And then we have Ront, the orc. He is unfamiliar with the Underdark and can't navigate. He's willing to stick with the adventurers as long as they seek a destination that gets him back to the surface world. So, yeah, good old Ront. And then we have Sereth Zekarit, the Drow. Is the best potential guide in the group. He can navigate to any region of the Underdark, but encourages the party to travel to Neverlight Grove, where he wants to take advantage of Stool's offer of sanctuary. Then we have Shushar. He can navigate through the Dark Lake. I know, right? Once the party is near it, he suggests visiting the Kwaitoa town of Slubladoop to acquire boats. And then Shushar wishes to return to his own people in hopes of guiding them to the enlightenment he has achieved. And then we have good old Stool. He's Myconid, can't navigate and has no knowledge of the local area. Period. oh wait, that's more. But he desperately wants to return home to Neverlight Grove. He claims that its people will be grateful and offers the party shelter and aid, and describes its sovereign as wise in the hidden ways of the Underdark. And then we have Topsy and Turvy, those rascals. They can navigate to Blingenstone, but they're reluctant to do so. They will support any suggestion that will not take them to their former home. All right. That's just a few of them. There's many more to come.
Right.
The noisy ones.
They were about as plentiful as the rations we found along the way.
I do like it. I like this list. I mean, first of all, every one of these characters is unique and memorable, so that's an awesome bit of writing.
Yeah.
But I love just the idea that they balanced the you're in prison and you have no gear with, but we'll give you this host of NPCs to do something with, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of like the mechanical balance almost
Yeah, it
of
worked well.
this adventure, right?
And we
I think we
kept
eventually
them all
sacrificed
like a
all
bunch
of
pets.
Yeah. Until they weren't needed anymore.
Dun.
Thank you, evil party.
So you'll have to listen to the episodes to find out what happens to all of these characters that introduce themselves, as well as that laundry list of NPCs. We've been forbidden to reveal anything in this intro. You're just going to have to listen and enjoy the episode.
Yeah, you can see how we care for them as if they were our own children.
Oh yeah.
I was gonna say at this point, I feel like people listening are probably more interested in knowing what happens to the NPCs than they do. I feel like you've set that up pretty good. What does a group of evil characters do with a handful of NPCs?
Oh yeah. Super interesting. So that takes us kind of right up to where we picked up with the original recordings at the front of episode 3, when the characters sort of set off into the Underdark with the Drow pursuers hot on their heels. Anything else from the early campaign, or maybe even from the beginnings of deciding to do this campaign that we should talk about?
No, I don't know if it makes a difference that we were just getting into COVID when we started this campaign.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It was a few months after, because we did Star Wars first, right?
Yeah,
we did.
Not during COVID.
We started this
That
November.
the Star Wars one ended, I think, late 2019.
No,
we were still doing it.
We did most of Star Wars during COVID.
Oh, we were?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go.
We started this.
Time means nothing.
Nicholas,
Time is meaningless.
Nicholas was our GM for that campaign, so you can tell how well that went.
In my notes, I thought it was cute at the beginning when I was taking notes for Star Wars. I was just like, "Oh, Star Wars episode number 5. This is the second one we did during COVID," and I'm like, 4 or 5 of these, and we'll be in the clear. And then, like, after I did COVID episode number 19, I'm like, okay, we're gonna keep this going for a while.
we're starting to dig in.
Yeah.
So we originally started this campaign, and was it November of 2020?
I think we had like a session 0, and we had a lot of pre-talks, maybe in like September, October, right? Just like planning and interest gauging and that kind of stuff, right?
It wasn't until our 3rd episode that we started talking about actually recording our sessions and making it available. Like, if anybody wants to listen to it, awesome, that's great. But it's also largely for ourselves that we're doing this. That we,
we're an evil party. We're selfish that way. So
right, in IRL, we're evil. Like, this is a humanity project. But no, I mean, maybe Adam. I mean, you were the inspiration behind kind of turning this a little more outward facing. I mean, what made you kind of want to put in all the extra work and all the editing? Because we should say, like, I don't have to do anything. I just show up and role play.
Well, you do a lot. Really... You're the DM.
Well, but it's not like the work of editing and like uploading and being on top of all that stuff. That's a big lift. You know what I mean?
That's a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think for me, it was just wanting to have something to produce. You know what I mean? As someone with a bit of an entertainment background, that I like putting stuff out there into the world. Whether or not it gets watched or listened to, that's a whole other thing. But like, I want to put stuff out there into the world to share. I just like to share.
You are a creator.
Mm-hmm.
I try to be.
True. Yeah.
Well, still creation.
We all are. We are, because this isn't. We are all creating this universe together.
100. Yeah.
You know, that is true, and I think that's the thing I love about this game. It's a collective storytelling, and isn't that one of the oldest forms of entertainment?
Yeah.
We got to sit around a digital campfire and tell stories during some of the darkest points in our lifetimes. So I think that's pretty badass, and I can't express it to anyone out there to do the same.
For sure.
You have an opportunity, jump on it and do the same.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Well,
sorry about our dog.
A little dog.
No, that's all right. Yeah. It's one of those wolves around the campfire.
Mara the dog.
we fell asleep on our watch. I think, unless there's anything else anybody wants to add, that's a pretty good place to leave it there.
So the next episode, if you're listening to this in our new chronological order, The next episode is episode 3, the first one that we recorded, and that's going to pick us up where we left off at the end of this episode.
And that's where we're going to stop.
Yeah!
Awesome.